Hey guys, like a boss here. Haven't posted a video in probably about 8 months. Right now, we're going to talk about college sports, and first thing I'm going to talk about is my team, Kentucky, losing to Indiana. That game was very bad for Kentucky. I mean, we played awful. That's one way to describe it. And they played probably their best game all season, and will be their best game throughout their season. Because I've never seen a team shoot 66% from 3-point land and also make every free throw they take besides one. And they beat us on a buzzer beater. And our best players got into foul trouble. Our best player did not show up. We shot awful. Awful in the first half, definitely. They got up, I think they got up to like a 13-point lead, and they still only beat us by one. And it was at their stadium. I mean, people. I mean, if you expected, let's say, if you put together our averages and put them as a score, we would have beat them by 20. But no, we had our worst game of the season. They had their best game of the season, and they could only beat us by one. So good job, Indiana. I'm not saying that you're a bad team. I'm saying you played amazing against us. But if we had our best game, we would have beat you. Just face that. And if you were at our stadium, we would have beat you anyway. So I'm not trying to insult any of Indiana. They played amazing, but I think we would have beat them if we had a really good game going. Now to talk about the college bowls, the ones that are coming up this weekend. And well, I got some good ones for you. We're just going to talk about the good ones, the ones actually people care about. So the first one is kind of a surprising one, the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. Now, I don't think anybody would ever expect these teams playing, but it's TCU versus Louisiana Tech. Now that's why TCU needs a BCS conference because they're playing in the County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. I mean, who's ever heard of that? Nobody. And again, and then the next bowl, the Matco Bowl, Las Vegas. Boise State versus Arizona State. See, that's why TCU and Boise State need a BCS conference, so they can actually get to a BCS bowl without. And if they don't get to one of those, they can actually play in a good bowl instead of what they're playing in. Next bowl is the V100 Independence Bowl, Missouri versus UNC. I know Missouri has much more athleticism, but UNC is probably more disciplined, so I'm gonna have to go with UNC. The Belk Bowl, Louisville versus North Carolina State. I think North Carolina State will win that because the Big East is awful. I don't care what anybody says; they're awful. They're not good. They don't have any competition in their conference. And North Carolina State, they have ACC, they have Florida State, they have Clemson, they have teams like that. North Carolina. So I think the NC State will win that. Military Bowl, Toledo versus Air Force. Toledo's in the MAC, which is a very high scoring powerhouse offense conference. So I think Toledo will kill Air Force. And then we got the Holiday Bowl, California versus Texas. Now I think that game will be a really close game, but it will matter who has the least amount of turnovers. So if I'm gonna pick a team, I'm gonna have to go with Texas. But that's just me. I don't know anybody else. Champ Sports Bowl, Florida State versus Notre Dame. Now that's gonna be an interesting bowl because Florida State and Notre Dame they're two they're two teams that were expected to do pretty good this year, but didn't. I think Florida State's going to win because I think they can pull it all together in the last game of the season. Notre Dame's had too much errors, so I can't go with Notre Dame. Washington versus Baylor, RG3 baby, Heisman winner, Robert Griffin III. Baylor. See, let's find another good game. Oh, the Insight Bowl, Iowa versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma's going to win that battle. They're going to kill Iowa, but Iowa has a chance because they're Iowa. They pull upsets. And if you were looking at the preseason polls, you would have never thought this team would ever be in the Meineke Card Care Bowl of Texas. Texas A&M versus Northwestern. Remember, Texas A&M was a top, I, th- I think 5, but I'm not sure. But I know they were top 10. And look, they're 6-6, 4-5. That's awful. But I think Texas A&M will beat Northwestern. Um, here's a really interesting bowl. Houston versus Penn State. We all know Case Keenum. He threw like what 9 touchdowns in one game. And I think that's where he proves himself. I think Houston will prove themselves against Penn State. Penn State's going through way too much to win this game, and I think Houston will pull something out. I think Houston may be the most underrated team there is, but they're gonna have to prove it. Okay, next bowl. Michigan State versus Oklahoma versus not Oklahoma, Georgia. SEC. Georgia's gonna win that. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Michigan State's really good. Okay, whatever. Nebraska versus South Carolina. Nebraska is upset special, but I think South Carolina will win that. In the Gator Bowl, Ohio State versus Florida. Both teams are 6-6. Both teams are 3-5 in the conference. I mean, they fell hard from last year. I don't know what to think because I didn't really watch much of Ohio State. I watched out of Florida, so I honestly don't know what to think when we have Ohio State playing Florida. But if I were to take a guess, I'd probably take Ohio State because they seem to be playing better than Florida, even though Florida is 6-6. But Florida is in the SEC. Rose Bowl, Wisconsin versus Oregon. Both teams 11-2. Oregon 8-1 in the conference. Wisconsin 6-10 in their conference. 6-2. Sorry. I think Oregon will win that because they have a more powerhouse offense. Fiesta Bowl, Stanford Andrew Luck versus Oklahoma State. That's how I said Stanford Andrew Luck. I didn't, mention anybody else on their team because they have really nobody else on their team that does anything for them. It's all Andrew Luck. I mean, if you looked at his stats for when he's actually played good teams, it's awful. It's awful. I mean, he played awful against Oregon. He played awful against USC. Yes, they still won that game, but he did not play good against that game. He didn't play good against Notre Dame, but they still won that game. But yeah, that's what I think. I think Oklahoma State's gonna win. Michigan, Virginia Tech. I think Michigan will win that game because Virginia Tech lost their ACC. No, they got killed in their ACC championship. So I think Michigan will win that. We got the Orange Bowl, West Virginia versus Clemson. I think Clemson. They can pull together. They can be a Big East team. Well, no, they're gonna win anyway. But Big East sucks. But so yeah, Clemson. Kansas State versus Arkansas. Arkansas. Pittsburgh versus SMU. Pittsburgh. And then the BCS National Championship. Alabama versus LSU. We all know what happened that night. 9-6. I think. Yeah. Alabama missed 4 field goals. If they counted wins and losses by stats, Alabama won the game by at least 40. But no, they had to miss 4 field goals, and LSU got lucky winning the game. State meet. Lucky. There was nothing not lucky about that. Alabama will kill LSU. And that's all I got to say about college sports. I hope I'm right. I hope Kentucky goes to the national championship in basketball. Oh, oh. Okay. Like a boss out.